Welcome back to the second installment of our three-part series examining the long-term economic ripple effects of Donald Trump's immigration policies. In this video, we'll dive into how these decisions disrupted critical supply chains and contributed to rising inflation that's hitting Americans where it hurts most, our wallets. From empty shelves to skyrocketing prices, the consequences are everywhere. What's driving these issues, and how deep do the effects go? Let's break it all down in today's video. Labor shortages stemming from Donald Trump's immigration policies have significantly disrupted supply chains across the United States. Industries that rely heavily on immigrant labor, such as food processing, logistics, and transportation, are experiencing major setbacks. These disruptions have far-reaching consequences impacting everything from grocery store shelves to e-commerce deliveries, with higher costs and longer wait times becoming the new norm. Let's explore how these policies have created a domino effect across the economy. The root of the problem: labor shortages in key nodes. Supply chains are complex systems that rely on seamless coordination across various sectors, including production, processing, transportation, and retail. Immigrant workers are integral to many of these steps, particularly in roles that are labor-intensive and difficult to automate. However, Trump's stricter immigration enforcement and reductions in visa programs, such as the H-2B and H-2A visas for seasonal and temporary workers, have left critical gaps in the workforce. For instance, harvesting and processing. In agriculture, fewer workers mean crops are left unharvested, creating bottlenecks for food processors who depend on raw materials to produce packaged goods. Transportation, trucking, and logistics, industries already facing driver shortages, have been hit hard by the reduced availability of immigrant labor. This results in delays in moving goods from farms and factories to distribution centers and retail stores. Warehousing immigrants play a significant role in warehouse operations, from sorting to packaging to inventory management. Labor shortages here further delay the flow of goods to retailers and consumers. When one link in the supply chain weakens, the effects cascade throughout the entire system. Labor shortages disrupt the production and movement of goods, leading to delays and higher costs at every stage. Here's how this plays out across key sectors. 1. Impact on retail. Retailers are experiencing inventory shortages, particularly during peak shopping seasons like holidays, when consumer demand is highest. Delayed shipments from suppliers result in empty shelves, leaving customers frustrated and driving them to competitors. For smaller retailers who lack the resources to absorb higher shipping costs or stockpile inventory, these disruptions can be devastating. For example, during the holiday season, many retailers faced delayed deliveries of popular items, such as electronics and toys, leading to missed sales opportunities and disappointed customers. The inability to keep shelves stocked not only hurts revenue, but also damages brand loyalty. 1. E-commerce delays. E-commerce giants like Amazon, Walmart, and Target rely on fast and efficient logistics to meet customer expectations for quick deliveries. However, labor shortages in warehousing and transportation have slowed down operations, leading to delays in shipping times. These delays erode customer trust and may drive consumers to competitors or discourage online shopping altogether. Additionally, higher shipping costs caused by labor shortages are often passed on to consumers, making e-commerce less affordable for some. For instance, online shoppers may notice increased delivery fees or minimum order thresholds as companies try to offset rising logistics expenses. 1. Food supply chains. Grocery stores have been particularly affected by supply chain disruptions. Labor shortages in agriculture and food processing result in fewer products reaching the shelves, especially fresh produce and perishable goods. Delays in transportation further exacerbate the problem, with spoilage becoming a significant concern. Consumers may find themselves paying more for basic groceries or facing limited availability of certain items. For example, shortages of dairy, meat, and fresh vegetables have been reported in some areas, forcing households to adjust their meal planning and budgets. Broader economic consequences. The disruptions to supply chains caused by labor shortages don't just affect individual businesses, they have broader implications for the economy. Rising prices. Higher operational costs at every stage of the supply chain lead to increased prices for consumers. This contributes to inflation, further straining household budgets. Delayed economic recovery. Industries that depend on efficient supply chains, such as manufacturing and retail, face slower growth due to ongoing disruptions. Loss of competitiveness. Companies struggling with supply chain issues may find it harder to compete globally, as more efficient economies fill the gaps in production and trade. Case study: the trucking industry's crisis. The trucking industry, which moves 70% of freight in the United States, has been grappling with a driver shortage for years. Trump's policies, including increased enforcement of immigration laws, exacerbated this problem by reducing the pool of available workers. With fewer drivers, goods take longer to reach their destinations, and shipping costs rise. This crisis has had a domino effect on industries ranging from retail to construction, delaying projects and increasing costs across the board. The role of immigration policies. While some of these supply chain challenges were already present before Trump's presidency, his administration's hardline immigration stance amplified them. The focus on reducing immigrant labor through deportations and visa restrictions created immediate labor shortages in critical sectors. The long-term effects of these policies are still being felt as businesses struggle to adapt and fill the gaps. The economic ripple effects of Donald Trump's presidency have extended far beyond immigration reform and trade policy, contributing to the rising inflation that is squeezing household budgets today. Labor shortages and supply chain disruptions, compounded by the policies of Trump's administration, have created an environment where businesses face higher operational costs. To maintain profitability, these costs are passed on to consumers, resulting in price increases across nearly every sector. Let's delve into how these dynamics are fueling inflation and what it means for the average American. Labor shortages in critical industries such as agriculture, construction, and logistics, combined with supply chain delays, have created a perfect storm for rising prices. For example, when farmers can't find enough workers to harvest crops, food supply decreases, driving up grocery prices. Similarly, shortages of truck drivers and warehouse workers delay goods transportation and storage, increasing costs for retailers and manufacturers. Businesses across the board, from grocery stores to housing developers, are incurring higher costs due to these disruptions. As a result, consumers see price hikes not just in food, but also in housing, utilities, and services. This is a classic case of cost-push inflation, where rising production costs lead to higher consumer prices. Inflation erodes the purchasing power of money, meaning the same dollar buys less than it did before. For example, if inflation is running at 8% annually, a $100 grocery bill from the previous year would now cost $108. While this may seem negligible at first glance, the compounding effects add up quickly, especially for families already struggling to make ends meet. For lower-income households, which spend a larger portion of their income on essentials like food and rent, inflation has an even more severe impact. These families may be forced to cut back on discretionary spending, dip into savings, or rely on credit cards to cover basic expenses, leading to further financial strain. Inflation doesn't just impact individuals, it has far-reaching consequences for the economy as a whole. Here's how. First, higher interest rates. The Federal Reserve typically raises interest rates to combat inflation. While this can help slow price increases, it also makes borrowing more expensive. Higher interest rates affect everything from credit card debt to mortgages, making it harder for families and businesses to afford large purchases or investments. Second, dampened consumer confidence. Rising costs can lead to reduced consumer confidence, which in turn slows down economic growth. When people feel uncertain about their financial future, they tend to cut back on spending, creating a ripple effect across various industries. For example, fewer home buyers mean slower construction growth, and reduced restaurant visits can hurt the hospitality sector. And third, the wage price spiral. In an effort to keep up with rising living costs, workers demand higher wages. While wage increases can help families stay afloat, they also raise operational costs for businesses, leading to even higher prices for goods and services. This cycle, known as the wage price spiral, can perpetuate inflation if not managed effectively. Groceries food prices have risen sharply due to labor shortages and supply chain delays. For example, fewer workers in agriculture mean reduced harvests, while higher transportation costs make it more expensive to deliver goods to grocery stores. Housing rising wages in the construction industry, combined with delays in building projects, have driven up home prices and rents. For many families, housing costs now consume an even larger portion of their income. Services, everything from childcare to car repairs, has become more expensive as businesses face higher labor and supply costs. We've seen how Trump-era policies caused chaos in supply chains and pushed inflation to new heights. But the story doesn't end here. In the final part of this series, we'll explore the even deeper costs, from lost tax revenue to the struggles of small businesses and farming communities. Don't miss the conclusion. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when Part 3 drops. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you think we can fix these economic challenges? See you in the next video.